Atlanta. London. Harlem. Brooklyn. Kingston. 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 Atlanta.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as you join us for the fourth round of the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 European Championship. We continue our venture around some of the world's most historic circuits, and today we find ourselves at Imola, a racetrack famed for its corners and its action. And well, this season has boasted intense battles up and down both fields, so tonight should be no different. And the challenge of tonight will come from maintaining consistency and patience. Talking you through all the action will be myself, Zach Sweeney, and alongside me is the legend himself of Chris Buxton, and we have the absolute pleasure of David Christie pushing the buttons behind the scenes. And well, now Chris, you are very much the new boy today, but you do have experience with both GT3s and Imola. What sort of a task is on the cards here?
Thank you very much, Zach. Indeed, I cut my commentary teeth in with GT3 machinery, so this harks back to kind of my early days. Now, Imola is primarily twisty. You need very, very stable cornering efficiency to get around the twists and turns of the tarmac of Italy. The beautiful Autodromo Enzo Idino Ferrari, otherwise known as Imola. Now, several key places that we are going to be looking at, mainly for overtaking purposes. Tozer, which I don't use corner numbers, so I'm not even going to try and forget. I think it's turn 7. Which is the hairpin and kind of round about the end of sector 1. Ravazza if you're brave. Tamburello if someone's got Ravazza wrong. Tamburello being the first chicane complex, Ravazza being the double left-hander at the end of the lap. But it's got quite a lot of undulation changes as well. You're rising up to the top of Piratella, dropping down through Acca Minerali. That can oh, nicely timed, whoever that was, getting Ravazza completely wrong. Very nicely done there. But yeah, this is a really technical circuit. It doesn't necessarily look it from the outset, but top end speed is not overly drastic here. You need a stable setup during cornering.
You do indeed. And we were saying in the intro how both standing to boasted close and intense action. This is how they line up after 3 rounds in the GT3 Pros. Unsurprisingly, it's Alex Urenga that leads the way ahead of Sean Campbell, Thomas Cope, Oscar Copa and Harry Wills, your top 5. But it is so close. And, when you're getting, 40, 50 points for a race win, the difference between 1st and 5th really isn't much at all. Of course, it's easy to say how Alex Urenga has dominated the series so far. But again, Sean Campbell is not far behind at all. Different story in the GT3 AMS with how close it is between the top 2. Evie van der Linden leads Jeremy de Bova by only 4 points. They've sort of broken away as their own little couplet away from Timothy Brandenburg. But again, that gap is only, 5 points between the 2nd and 3rd place. And, David Camano not far behind either. So incredibly close. And with only 10 rounds, of course, 20 races in this season, you've got to make each and every one count.
There's only 12 points, 4th to 12th in that particular pack. So, again, a GT3 rating is not quite a completely leveled playing field. All the different makes and manufacturers do have their own little quirks, some preferences, some slight differences might suit Imola better than some other circuits, but it always provides intense ratingness. And what I'm really glad to see is we have a really wide, diverse field. We don't have one make that is completely dominating the field. We've got pretty much all of the GT3 machinery that's going to be represented as the drivers now take to the field. Qualifying is done. We are heading into the first of our races tonight. We have a 25-minute race and a 50-minute race for those that haven't seen the series before. And we are going to be setting off for our 25-minute race. It's just going to be all guns blazing. You don't have time to make up for a mistake. So there might be some caution. But again, what you also don't have time for is to just let the laps go by. Sometimes you need to just keep putting the pressure on. You don't have time for it. You've got to get out there and get on with it. And Imola is not always the easiest place to overtake when there's that many cars. 36, I think, or 38 of them there are out there at the moment. Bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. We cannot wait at all. As I said, Alex Urenga, the championship leader, takes yet another pole position here for round 4. He's joined by his RSI teammate Sean Campbell on the front row. Thomas Cope comes in P3 and Stuart Reynolds will start on his left-hand side there in P4. Thomas Wright and Harry Wills make up the 3rd row of the grid, with Christian Furs and Thomas Dandridge in 7th and 8th. Chris Chatterton and Ethan Bass round off the top 10 in the GT3 Pros. And well, with the shortness of this lap, we do have to rattle on and get a few more names in. Looking back to the GT3 AMS, it's Navarro de Boiva taking his first pole position of the season. He'll be joined by Timothy van der Broek in P2, Dirk Bouts and El Haddad P3 and 4. Ivo van der Linden, our championship leader, playing nice and safe in P5. Simon Dodd P6, Werner S P7, Tarks in P8, Franken P9 and Halibay in P10 as they roll their way towards the starting line, and we're gonna get ourselves underway very shortly. Alex Urenga on pole, Sean Campbell alongside him, and they're going to barrel their way down towards the Tamburello chicane for the first time in this 25-minute showdown for round 4 of the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 European Championship. Round 4 here at Imola, and we're going to get ourselves underway as soon as they cross the checkered flag line. And here we go. Here's Thomas Cope already trying to launch an offensive on Sean Campbell down towards the Tamburello chicane. Urenga getting a really good launch. Thomas Cope there looking to the left-hand side. Has he got the legs in order to send one to the inside? Indeed, he's going to be able to. Has Campbell got the leg? Not quite. He's just going to back out a little bit. Probably, as you say, Chris, just taking the cautious line and all going off. That's Thomas Reiter having a bit of an off. And, well, one of them was playing it patient. Not all of them was.
No, indeed. So now the AM field now get underway. If you're wondering why there was a few less cars than I was talking about, it's because the pros and the AMs are released as 2 separate grids. So there we go. So you don't have pros and AMs mixed up in the same grid. So Navarro de Bova is then leading the Ams away. What an absolute storming start by Alex Urenga. Absolutely nailed the start perfectly, but look how much jostling going on. There he is. Look at the gap, 1.6 seconds already from Campbell. That's looking back. Campbell's got it all to do, fending off absolutely everybody. As we saw that, we saw the Audi just plough into the wall before we even got down to Toza. We're now looking at R.A.W.S pushing the Lamborghini along towards. Now this, I still refer to this in its old name. This corner now is referred to as the Curva Fausta Grassini, apparently. Make it that as you will. But now screaming back down the hill at the end, down towards Ravazza for the first time in anger, checking in with our AMS. That's Timothy van der Broek that has the top of that particular tree now in the BMW, screaming up towards that same chicane. It's so far so good for the majority of the field.
Gotten their way around cleanly so far. I'm going to take a look. This is between Thomas Wright to that Audi that we saw barreling towards the barrier. It was just the slightest bit of contact. You're going really quickly through that final left-hander, and yeah, it is just so easy to get wrong. We see El Haddad and Navarro de Boiva, I think, going side by side in towards Ravazza for the first lap, and El Haddad manages to get himself up into second place. But in both the GT3 AMS, de Boiva makes a massive mistake, and just look at everyone pushing their way through, and well, that is certainly NASCAR style in the sense that as soon as you're offline, everyone just bullies their way through. He's going to lose a lot of time in this skirmish. This is Simon Dodds trying to get his way ahead of Boughton onto the podium in that Ferrari on the left-hand side. He's got the legs. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? Is it going to be the number 11? No, it's going to be the Ferrari, the 49. And Simon Dodd gets himself up into the podium, looking back to the pros. And again, a runaway start for Alex Urenga, our championship leader, 1.7 seconds already clear of Sean Campbell. And unfortunately, a disconnect for my boy Ethan Bass representing in that Ford GT, which you don't often see, but you know, he did a top 10 in qualifying. He's boasted some good success in this season so far, but again, it's unfortunate. It's sim racing. It's probably the equivalent of just getting an engine blow out.
Basically, so yeah, it's some kind of technical fault that did it. But look at Van der Broek absolutely flying then up front. El Haddad with it all to do to try and break away from the field. What's happened to Timo McEwen heading up to Variante Alta, or Fausta Grassini, call it as he will. He barreled in there too hard. Whoops! Looks like he's going to get all wrong. Yeah, see, that was the problem. When you make a mistake when the field is this heavily condensed, you just pay for it so heavily. So we're now looking back at the Variante Alta. It's easier for me to say that than Curva Fausta Grassini or that chicane. Now the drivers will use that green AstroTurf on the exit of the chicane. That is perfectly allowed as long as you don't exceed it, as long as you're back on track before that green section ends and it's not deemed to be an off track. You haven't been judged to have gone too wide. But Van der Broek storming off into the lead of the AMS to the tune of nearly 3 seconds. There's a Navarro de Boiva that is now in 10th position, or down to 10th position. Having started well, but is struggling then in the Porsche. Now that was the result of that one small mistake. You saw the field just really rushing past him. It was only a tiny mistake. Didn't really see what caused it. Probably just a little bit too much right foot at the wrong time. And he's now challenging Franken for that 9th position right under the rear wing. Can he do it? Pulls out. Ooh, it's brave to make a move on the inside of the Villeneuve chicane. You have to hope that the person you're passing knows you're there. And now it's being challenged, and that's Schuster that's now gone through into 11th. That's going to force into the outside line of Toza. Oh, still side by side. That's brave. You keep your foot in it. That's very well driven. That's the Audi then back up in the 10th position. And trouble also for Thomas Cope, who's now falling down the field. And that's wide. That's like the Neapolitan ice cream kind of colour scheme going on there. What's happened to, has he bounced off the BWT flavoured Mercedes? Let's have a look. That camera's going to cut away. Oh dear, he's braked a slight bit too late, and the rear tyres didn't like that. As he's turned in, there's not enough traction on the rear, and round he went.
Yeah, easily done, of course. It's, again, mistakes will happen, as we see Chris Gallatin, I think, get completely mugged off by Kjellberg and a Hearn down towards the Tambrella chicane and just has to back out of that particular fight. Still inside the top 10, of course, and ahead of Thomas Reiter by a berth of about 3.5 seconds. But again, it's these packs that we've come to know and love, these sort of triplets, couplets, even quadruplets in some cases of packs of 4. But again, it's so dangerous, and all that's how easy it is to make that mistake. There's Thomas Ahern getting it all sorts of wrong on that run into Tosa, and well, around the outside goes Chris Chatterton to get himself back into 8th place. And of course, when you are in these packs so close together, you do have to be wary of mistakes and be careful of other people, because it's so easily for when you lose one place to lose that rhythm and then to lose even more places. And well, making a mistake as big as Gus Franken is going to cost even more places. As yeah, just look at the amount of cars trying to battle their way through. We've got Bailey on the back of the Rover as they run side by side in towards Villeneuve, and this is a very sketchy part of the circuit to get it done, because you can see everyone 2 by 2 they go, and it's just that mutual respect. All it takes is one twitch of the wheel and around you go.
Very well driven, actually, from everybody. I was just bracing myself for an almighty great pile-up from the AM field here, or the AM midfield, I should say, but they didn't manage to do it. Look at this lovely heli shot here, as we now see that's Sastamoinen that's making the move on Franklin. Then, oh no, just a tiny tap on the grass for the Porsche. Just dipped a wheel onto the green stuff, and round she went, dropping Gus Franken down. And oh, that's David Camano, starting towards the sharper end of the AM field, has had his own incident. Well, let's see what happened here. Did he spin, or was he pushed? Oh, he was pushed, but I think the BMW had already gotten loose for the Spaniard, and that's going to drop him right the way down to the tail end of the field. That's so frustrating, especially in these shorter races. You just don't have time to recover from it. On ball with Dean Timms then. Now, they did look like, yeah, there was a tiny bit of impact there. Again, Dean Timms couldn't have really seen that the Porsche was getting out of shape there from Franken. So that a bit unfortunate there, but you know, that's the nature of the beast. Jumping back up towards the top of the race, and Alex Uringa 2.5 seconds then ahead of fellow Lamborghini Campbell, and that's another 3.5 seconds ahead of Reynolds. Absolutely storming performance.
It really is, and Alex Urenga is a driver that you do not want to let have clear air at all. You can get him into a pack, he'll play the patient game. You might say, oh yeah, eventually he'll find a way through, but clear out, he will run away with it. Of course, Sean Campbell keeping him honest in terms of lap times, only 0.3 slower on that last lap. And the two RSR guys, the RSR by Bucker, have had a stellar performance so far this season. They have just worked together so beautifully and just choreographed their performances always towards the sharp end of the field. Of course, Oscar Cooper didn't have the best of times last time out at Watkins Glen. We turn our attention back towards the sort of the mid-pack in the GT3 AMS, and still Timo McEwen having a bit of fun. This is Navarro de Boiva. When will he catch a break? Of course, managed to take a 1-2 with his father, Jeremy de Boiva, back at Le Mans, but since then it's just been a downhill spiral for the Belgian. And in towards Piratella, just getting it a little bit wide, and around he goes. Impressive until then, and the car reached that point of no return, and that is just such a shame so far for a pole sitter.
Well, the Debovas now together, 16-17 on track. Yeah, he was just way too hot going into Piratella though. He missed his braking point, probably not by a huge amount, but he had. Oh no, that's Sean Campbell! Our second place runner had just managed to keep that Lamborghini out of the wall, but only just. That is going to. There is Reynolds and Wills right behind him. So Stuart Reynolds and Harry Wills can now see their prey and a potential up towards the field. What happened here? Now he's just gone too high. Too high into Villeneuve. Didn't need to push, realistically speaking. That gap was only building between himself and teammate Uringa. He should have really stuck with it. I mean, it's easier to say than. He caught that apex, so he wasn't trying to push too hard. He just cut that corner a little bit too early, and bounced over the sausage curb. And the car just then gets unsettled. Harry Wills then is under a fair amount of pressure here. Or is it something? A lot of arguing going on for hanging on to 5th position as best he can. Now let's see, as Dandridge directly ahead. Then Furs and Kalberg and Chatterton are in this particular pack. So again, this will be one tiny mistake will be your undoing. Mercedes, Ferrari, Mercedes. Very German flavoured, that particular pack. And then Audi and another Merc right behind.
certainly in hot pursuit, and again, as you say, quite rightly say, as well as Kjellberg, actually, you know, it's Christian Ferr's just having a bit of a disconnect moment. I think he's all good though. Here comes Kjellberg looking to the left-hand side, 2x2. Noah's Ark, they go in towards the Tambrella chicane, and Kjellberg, the Swede, just about manages to get that one stopped in towards the next left-hander, and you can see Harry Wills all over the rear end of Dandridge in towards the Villeneuve chicane. Not really the place you really want to send a move, because it is one of those corners where it looks a lot slower than it actually is. You can take a lot of speed into that corner, and you can see he's actually just played the patient game. Going to try and go the long way round here at Tosa. Has he got that move done, or is Kjellberg going to try and force the gap open and follow Dandridge through? It seems that Harry Wills has got the legs, got the nose ahead on this run towards Piratella, and he has done indeed managed to get the full cars with the head and back up into 4th place. It is really very much so all aboard the Harry Wills train at this point in time, but yeah, well, he's putting up a mighty defence.
Great stuff, yeah. It's not easy to drive in your mirrors so much, but look at Dandridge all over the back of Wills trying to regain the position, but he's probably not trying to make the move. He just got a little bit loose coming through Acca Minerali. That's given Wills just a little bit of breathing space. Now coming down into the chicane once again. But you do have to hit those curves quite hard to get the best line through it. As this is Timo McEwen side by side. I think that's one of the Bovas that he was with, and I couldn't quite tell whether he got a tap there, but certainly round he went, and he did get a slight touch from the Porsche then. Very, very easily done. Now looking back from the number 57 from the fin, we'll see. Oh, that Porsche's gone in a bit too deep, and there it is. Doink! The Porsche would have possibly gotten away with it had he not had someone already ahead of him. Another side by side. Then Dandridge is he's bowed out. That one doesn't fancy going side. It's a difficult corner to go side by side through Tamburello. In fairness, another one going on. No one told Payeril that, and Cope still having an argument. There's Pale and Patterman that are squabbling away. The pair of Audis now screaming down towards. There's no team orders going on here. Still side by side. Both chicanes in the first sector. They're going side by side. It's Patterman that has got to concede. The number 75 car has got to slot behind his teammate for that one. And here we go again. Oh no! Wow. Scrambling up over into the wall. We saw the side by side going on earlier. But at last, that's on the exit of Ravazza where that's gone wrong for the Porsche.
Like father, like son, and just dipped a wheel, I think, just smidged that AstroTurf, and well, around he went. Those Porsches are one of the more difficult cars to drive in the GT3 world, so very easy to get it wrong, and I think Chamorro is just going to eat him up and just say, off I pop, I'm going to try and chase the car in front. This is the battle for P2 at the moment, as El Haddad has Simon Dodd for company. Just behind him as they go towards Aqua Minerali. They have got about 3.5 seconds back to Van der Broek, but this is what happened. Navarro Bova, bang! Oh, good golly, and David Christie's having a lovely time in the producer booth, but that is a big one.
Are we racing or playing ping pong? Well, we're doing an element of both in that one. That's one very heavily reshaped Porsche, and there just a small tap on the outside line. Exactly as you said, Zach, these Porsches are very easily agitated, and round went the German machinery to introduce itself into the wall. That battle for third in the pros continues. That's Stuart Reynolds and Harry Wills arguing in the Mercedeses for the last spot on the podium. Dringer and Campbell are untouchable up front, and whoops, as goes Ethan Bass in the sole Ford. Doing a bit of lawn mowing. It's all sand out there, so bouncing over the sand. As the more that Wills fights Reynolds, that's then allowing Kjellberg, Dandridge, and Furs and Chatterton to all stay in touching distance. So 14.5 minutes done. We've got just over 10 remaining. Again, what a great scrap we've got.
Still all aboard the Harry Wills train. This is El Haddad. That fight for second place is going to be a swift end as, well, Dodd is able to edge himself up into the second place as El Haddad makes it a little bit of an awkward showing for him through the Villeneuve chicane. This is our championship leader, Ivo van der Linden, on the back of Werner S as they run off the exit of Tosa, and he's going to try and get himself up inside the top 6. Of course, only qualified P5 did our championship leader, but again, playing that cautious game in such a close and tight championship, you do not want to be getting it all sorts of wrong. Then again, you do have the reverse grid race 15 minutes long. That's where some of the some people can really shine and make some big points up. Back to the GT3 Pros, we still have this 5-car train starting at the helm with R.A.W.S. He's got R.A.W.S for company. Who's going to eye up the move? You've got a long straight here, and of course with the high downforce setup to these cars, you're going to benefit a lot from the slipstream. Christian Fers has got Chris Chatterton for company in that Audi, going defensive. R.A.W.S as well, trying to go the long way around at R.A.W.S. Bit of argy-bargy between the two. R.A.W.S forced off, has to concede as R.A.W.S up into P4.
R.A.W.S is going to lose another one, potentially to Thomas Dandridge. He's made the move. Can he get it to stick? Yes, he can. I would think that Wills probably realises that there was no point defending that and just conceded that one. So one small mistake. Oh my goodness, R.A.W.S immediately back on the attack then, coming on through the outside. Artoza can't make it stick. It's too long, realistically, to make the move stick unless you get a decent amount alongside before you get to the corner. So this is what happened between Wills and R.A.W.S. It looked like a bit of an understeer moment from Wills there, side by side. I mean, it's a bold move, but R.A.W.S was sufficiently alongside to be warranted space. So it was a fair move. It's slightly unfortunate there for R.A.W.S, but by no means giving up on the chase. Still plenty of people for him to race as he now chases off after Dandridge, right behind them. Fers and Chatterton side by side now coming into Variante Alta. Someone's going to have to bow out of that one. Looks like they have managed to survive it. I can't say I'm a fan of the delivery on the Audi. You can at me for that one all you like. There we go. Down the hill then. Oh, it looks like Pale has gone off the road and parked himself behind a barrier. That's impressive. So he was having an argument with his teammate earlier on. Now finds himself having to be very careful on how he rejoins the circuit. What's Felix Pale done here? He's just overcooked it into Variante Alta, hasn't he? There he goes.
Yeah,
too much. Yeah, that's the fine line between, you know, braking and turning to maximise your time through that chicane, but you're on the brakes that little bit too long, or if you go in that tiny bit too hot and the rear axle will just lock up. You won't have anything. You won't have anything to fight with as Dandridge gets a bit quickly coming out of Tamburello under a lot of pressure from Fers and Chatterton right behind. My goodness me, Wills in there as well. So, my word, all the fighting going on board with Chris Chatterton in 8th position then, as Reiter and Arn swapping around further behind them. Good drive then from the number 16. Can he do something against the Ferrari ahead? He can. He's going to try and draw alongside before they get the Piratella. No, doesn't fancy that one. Probably quite wise. Whilst there was a lot of runoff area there, you don't really want to be doing that kind of manoeuvre. Nicely done. Still loads of fighting, and this is all a battle for 4th.
It is. It's not even like it's for a podium. They're fighting so hard for 4th place. There's a car stopped there on the right-hand side. I think that was just one of the back markers moving out the way. Maybe Felix PL, yeah, just indeed, just moving out the way, being nice and kind to those. Of course, he's not going to be getting himself completely up to speed straight away. And still, we have got this train. I think R.A.W.S has managed to break free from R.A.W.S as they fought tooth and nail side by side, and unfortunately for R.A.W.S in the 95, and oh, he's gone round. That is such a shame and such an anticlimactic end to what has been such a valiant defense from the 95 in the Mercedes, and it's such a shame. So easy to just loop around. I think pushing a little bit too hard onto the AstroTurf, and yeah, I think, well, we're just gonna have a look now. It was actually, no, it was loop round before that. I think just carried a little bit too much speed in, and oh, that was very close.
He did the right thing. He stayed very much off the racing lines. He tried to recover as that's Dreyer. That's oh, what's going on with Fers? He's off the road. That's it. Now has he got damage to the Ferrari? Let's have a look. Oh, he then had a bit of a nudge with the Mercedes, then gone off onto the sand. And he's avoided damage. Then I wondered if that car was kind of crabbing a little bit. Nope, that Ferrari, looking at the body language now, is absolutely fine, but that has dropped him down into 7th on the inside line. Reiter then having a look to try and gain that 7th position. Doesn't quite come off this time. My goodness me. From light to flag, this battle's going on for. Absolutely brilliant.
meanwhile, it's just allowed the likes of Imola, Campbell and Reynolds to just run away with things towards the front. We've got Thomas Reiter, we've got R.A.W.S for companies. They go through Aquamilirali. Of course, we remember to lap 1 where Thomas Reiter, was in the barrier, and that rear wing of that Audi was looking a lot worse for wear. And well, that just goes to show how much they're slowing each other up in this train of cars. Not to say that Thomas Reiter is slow by any means, but that Audi certainly is going to be losing just a little bit of performance, to say the least. This is our GT3 AM leader, Timothy van der Broek, who, again, we haven't seen much of because he's been doing such a good job out in front, having really a boring yet perfect race for himself.
That's what you sometimes want, particularly if you're at the sharper end of the championship. You don't want to have to challenge for the positions. This will be a comparatively easy win for Van der Broek. And Simon Dodd then wandering a little bit wide, and into the pit comes Dandridge from, I think it was around 4th he was coming in from. So that's of course going to drop him towards the tail end of the post with just over 4 minutes to go. It's never what you want to see. I'm assuming this is a drive-through then for the 25 Mercedes. A great shame for Thomas Dandridge.
Yeah, of course we are expecting pit stops in the 50-minute race just a little while after this one, once we get everything sorted. But yeah, that is not what we want to see at all, especially in such a sprint race format. You want to be minimising the amount of time you spend in the pit lane, and that is unfortunate. Especially, it's not the longest pit lane here at Imola compared to the likes of Spa or Silverstone, where they're long and slow, but again, still not ideal at all. On board once again with our championship leader Revivo Vanderlyn, and he's on the back still of Werner S in that Audi through the Tamburello chicane and closing that gap just a little bit, but I think still just having an air of caution, just doesn't really want to send it. He's not quite close enough to go for that move, and with only a few minutes left to go, it's one extra place. It's not really worth sending for, especially when he's in the championship. Might be better just to bank 7th place. Of course, gives him an extra position high for the reverse grid race just after this one as well. So again, it might just be having that mental game, that mental potentially block of being in that championship.
Oh, unlike this particular battle then, Kurt Howard Jensen, the number 74 car, oh, right at the back of this shot, that's 2 cars around, that's Kamano. Oh, his day's getting worse and worse and worse, along with Franken and Slayets. We haven't mentioned Slayets at all. Gus Franken again in trouble, as through past them to put a lap on them is one of the Lamborghinis. So the two Porsches look like they just came together. Beg your pardon, Porsche and BMW just came together, or did they? Let's have a look. BMW starts to turn in. Porsche, you've gone in a bit too hot. Yeah, the BMW was giving room, and unfortunately the Porsche just a little bit too hot. Well, still side by side with someone, and round they went.
It was one of those where, I think, Franken just trying to take the track away from him on the inside and force them into submission, and the BMW was just like, nah, mate, not happening. Of course, gave him a wide berth on the inside, gave him as much room as I think he possibly could. But again, these things happen, and it could have just been a mistake. And again, we're seeing a lot of pit stops. Are they genuinely this bad for fuel? I didn't think Imola would be. Of course, with the fuel size of GT3 fuel tanks. I mean, there are a lot of stop and start zones here at Imola. You might be at the top of your rev range for a little while as well, burning a bit of fuel, but surely shouldn't be that bad to warrant a fuel stop in a 25-minute race.
They're drive-throughs. No, none of them are stopping. The only ones that have actually stopped are Navarro de Brova after his ping-pong effort, and David Camano following that incident we've just seen. No one's pitted. They're drive-throughs, so they're racking up penalty points. Because again, the limit that you have to find at Imola, particularly because it's such a technical circuit, it's very easy to want that slightly bit too wide, and off you go and gaining the dreaded penalties. So they've earned themselves drive-through penalties, and they've of course had to serve them because the race is not long to finish. As we now look at Thomas Reiter fending off the advances of Dreyer right behind. So Jonas Dreyer trying to gain that 7th position. There is our race leader tripping over the traffic, or not tripping over the traffic. It's going to be final lap, 1 minute left on the clock, and it's a 1:42 lap. So Alex Urenga on the final lap, then 31 car, nicely done, gets out of the way. That is Victor Chamorro doing very nicely, getting very much out of the way of the race leader. Yeah, talking about quiet races, it certainly has been, particularly for the top 4 really. Urenga's, Campbell, Reynolds and Kelberg have very little to do in this particular race, but that means they'll have it all to do in the reverse grid race later on. And amazingly, Navarro de Bova has actually left the pit. He's some 6 laps down, but he's actually back out on circuit again.
Good effort, mate. Good effort. Just to call it back to the checkered flag, of course, always No R.A.W.S has seen better days, but again, always good sportsmanship just to get it to the end. And of course, we ride on board with Alex R.A.W.S as he negotiates the final sector for the final time in race number 1 here for round 4 at Imola. It's going to be yet another race win ticked off for Alex R.A.W.S. He's won a race at every single round so far this season. He is the man on form. He is the man setting the benchmark, and all he has to do is negotiate one more corner on that dash towards the line. It's going to be yet another race victory here in the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 EU Championship. Alex R.A.W.S takes victory here for race 1. He'll be, not so closely followed by Sean Campbell and Stuart Reynolds in 2nd and 3rd, but what a race it has been, and, Navarro de Boiva, they probably should have stayed in the pit lane.
Yes, less the better. So Campbell's come over the line. There's Stuart Roberts in the 35 Lamborghini, very nicely done there. Next over the line, he's going to be Albin Kelberg in the bright pink BWT livery Mercedes. Next up is Chris Chatterton in the Audi. Then Christian Furs is next with Jonas Dreyer, Thomas Reiter, Liam Arner. They're all coming over quicker than I can read the names out. R.A.W.S. What might have been for the number 95 car. There's your AM leader that's going to take the top step for the AM Championship. Timothy van der Broek, flash of the lights. He's happy about that. Very nicely done. He takes the top of the AMs.
Indeed it does. Simon Doddle and Bowles will follow him across the line in 2nd and 3rd. And this is crucial points for Van der Broek in the championship, especially when Ivo van der Linden is down there in 6th place. Of course, this grid gets flipped on its head for race number 2. And, we double the time on the clock for that race as well. So definitely not at all over in terms of this championship battle, but certainly a good stride forward for Van der Broek, who really is setting the standards over the last couple of races and giving Van der Linden a perfectly good run for his money, waiting for the last couple really to just find their way across the line, one of which being Mark Bailey coming across in the mid 13th place. And for race 1, I'd say, we didn't have a fight necessarily for the podium or for the race win, but amongst that midfield, that was brilliant, Chris.
We had plenty of other fights that entertained us. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Few strange pit lane penalties to serve, but and a few less than fortuitous moves that happened. That's the nature of the beast. So then to confirm, there is the pro standings. Alex R.A.W.S taking a comparatively comfortable win. Sean Campbell seconds, the RSR by butt kick a team. Taking the top 2 spots with Stuart Reynolds rounding out the podium 3. Then it's Kelberg, Chatterton, Furzer, Dreyer, Reiter, Arner and R.A.W.S rounding out the top 10 of the pros, with Patterman, Bass, Dundridge, Cope and Pale taking the remainder of the pro spots in that race. Having a look at our AM contingent. That's from 6th downwards. There we go. So Tim van der Broek taking the top spot again, comparatively comfortably, from Simon Dodd. Dirk Bout in that 3rd position, very closely followed by Jasper Jarks. And then you've got Werner S with Ivor Linden, Halle Bay, Schuster, Timms and Green rounding out the top 10 with El Haddad, Sastamoinen, Beatty, Goodsall, Jensen, Ferrer, Chamorro and McEwen rounding out the remaining positions of the AM category.
It was as well for race 1 standards as well. Of course, we've seen a fair share of action across all of our 7 races so far this season. And, just scrolling through the back end of the AMs, those that probably didn't quite get to the checkered flag in time. If you are only just joining us, don't go away just yet, because if you just give us 10 or so minutes, we'll be back for race 2. And if you have watched race 1, do not go anywhere either, because the spectacle is yet to come. We put 50 minutes back on the clock. We flip both grids on their head, and we go again for race 2 here for round 4 here at Imola for the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 EU Championship. It'll be myself, Zach Sweeney and Chris Buxton talking you through the action. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Take care. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 European Championship. You join us moments before race 2 here at round 4, and we are here at Imola. And, well, we have our first interviewee of the season in the form of Simon Dodd. Of course, Simon, you managed to pick up, I believe it was 2nd place in race 1. And, well, let's just talk us through your race.
It was an interesting one. I had an all right quali. And then beat my quali time by about half a second in the warm-up to the race with a full tank of fuel in it. So I'm not sure what happened there. So I could have qualied a bit higher, but then race start, I just sort of played it a little bit cool and calm at the beginning. There were a few people that they slowed each other down, should we say, in the first lap or so, and I really was very close to having quite a major incident, but managed to keep it clean. And the shiny side facing up, shall we say. And then just kept it going. And I was fighting with R.A.W.S for a while. He then ran wide at, no, not very anti-alta. I can't remember the one before the hairpin.
Acqua Minerale.
Aqua Minerale. No, that's the one at the bottom of the hill.
Villeneuve, is that one?
Villeneuve, that's the one, yeah. He ran a bit wide coming out of Villeneuve, and I managed to get up the inside of him before... I can't remember the names. Tozer, isn't it, the hairpin?
Yeah. Tozer's the hairpin in the end of sector 1, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So, I was ahead of him going into there. And then, unfortunately, it was a 3-second gap up to Timothy Vanderbroek then. And we were just sort of matching each other from there. He was gaining a 10th, I was gaining a 10th. Then, he said he was managing the pace. If he was managing the pace, then fair play to him. I thought we were fairly matched, but if he was managing it, then I've got no chance in the next race.
Well, I mean, just a bit of a stalemate between you two then, of course. With that, I'm guessing you're fairly confident with the pace. Of course, you should be P2 in race 1. Of course, now you start towards the tail end of the grid of race 2. You've got 50 minutes on the clock, though. As a driver, how do you come in? How do you approach a race like this?
Hope for carnage ahead of me and avoid it all. Then hopefully make some places up in the pits and take some easy pickings early on, basically. That's the plan. Finish as high as I can. I mean, there's 21 cars ahead of me, according to what I've had a look at, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but the aim is a podium, obviously, but we'll see.
You really can only go forwards unless you finish right towards the back. So just try and pick up as many places as you can. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, in the championship, are you thinking anything? Are you ambitious?
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently P10. I was first after round 1, then picked up a penalty in round 2. Round 3 was, let's not talk about that.
We won't.
So I'm hoping that I can get a good haul of points in this race. Yeah. And hopefully I'll get in there. I'd like to finish in the prizes.
Yeah, you're P4, mate. Yeah.
Am I P4 now after
P4
race
now
one?
after the first race? Yeah, nicely done.
That'll do nicely. Yeah. I mean, hopefully I can win a prize in the top 3. That's the aim. If I can win it, then amazing. But we'll see. It's a long old championship. There's a fair few races to go.
Got to pick your way through and tackle each one as it comes. You are only 4 points behind that top 3 that you aim for, and of course, I think 23 points back off the race lead. Of course, as you say, a very long championship left to go, and it can seem, I guess, quite overwhelming as a driver. But I guess you just got to, just take a stride, take each one as you can, and just see how it goes.
take each corner as it comes to you, basically.
Exactly, one step at a time.
Yeah.
Is there anybody in particular, Simon, that you're kind of pitting yourself against, who you see as your kind of pace? I always say you realistically know who you're in a battle with. Of course, we all as drivers want to do this best we can, but is there any one particular person you're eyeing up to try and beat every time, or is it just beat everybody?
It's always been me and Dean Timms. I mean, all right, this is season 3 of the rebranded R.A.W.S, but I've been in this championship with the same people organising it since it was called something else. And that was, I think, 4 or 5 seasons, and it was always me and Dean level pegging for most of our pace is so similar. No matter what car and track, even if we're in different cars, we seem to be within a tenth. But he's found some pace recently, which worries me. But hopefully I can still stay ahead of him this season.
Well, you're 3 points ahead of him at the moment.
Yeah.
So you're going the right way about it by your own targets. But
yeah, fingers crossed.
So you got Van der Broek, Ivor Linden, and Jeremy DeBove ahead of you. Again, is there any aspirations to target those three, or is it just still primarily picking them off if they come to grief?
Pick them off as they come to me. If I find I'm faster than them, then find a way past them, but not try and force the move. If we're matched on pace, I'll just sit behind them and hopefully force them into an error.
Nice.
There.
And is this a track you particularly like? Do you enjoy Imola?
I love Imola. It's a brilliant track. It's just got a really nice flow to it. Really has.
Can't fault you there.
Yeah.
A lot of history as well.
Yes,
but of course,
a
yeah.
lot of history.
Well, thank you very much for jumping in and having a chat with us, Simon Dodd. I think we do have just a couple more minutes. I think we need to let you go so you can get yourself ready and pumped up, I suppose.
Get myself another beer.
Yeah, you do. Well, yeah, that'll explain your driving in race 1, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll watch out for your race 2. Best of luck to you, and of course, thanks for jumping in and having a chat. And hopefully, we'll see more of you soon. Cheers,
thanks a lot for the stream, guys. You're doing a great job. And I'll shout out to my team, and my teammate says, shout out to myself for being a sexy beast. So.
Lovely. There you go, ladies.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, we did indeed. Well, we are just moments away, ladies and gents, from the start of race 2, and we did just have a chat with Simon Dodd there, finished 2nd place in race 1. It is myself, Zach Sweeney, and Chris Buxton here in the commentary booth, and well, Chris, you certainly were thrown right into the deep end there for race 1. Let's see what race 2 has.
Oh, reverse grid, 50 minutes. Yeah, let's have some of this. Absolutely love it. Yeah, Imola is a great circuit, but it is. Yeah, it's a tricky beast, and when you've got a muddled up grid, with people out of position, it can create some interesting moments. That's why I love it from a commentary perspective. I actually quite like it from a driver's perspective. I know that some drivers are fairly against reverse grids. Those that tend to be towards the sharper end, of course, don't fancy being towards the back. But me generally being towards the back, prefer a shot of being up at the front. So that's why I like reverse grids as well.
It does help. It allows those maybe towards the tail end of the pack, or those that haven't had the best of race 1s can just they're still not completely out of it, and of course that will play a part in how close the championship is and will be for the remainder of this season. Just to have those extra haul of points, of course, it does separate the good from the great. Just to see, it's one thing. We saw Alex Schrenger take pole position, run away with it towards the start. It's one thing. It's quite a commendable trait to just be able to be so consistent and so quick. But again, it's that extra step. It's that the head above everyone else, just to be able to battle your way through, keep your composure, keep that patience, especially at a circuit like Imola.
Yeah, patience is definitely something that would need to be exercised a bit more in these longer races, but it's so difficult to do. So now the grid has been formed, and this is how it looks. Cope and Dandridge, row 1. This is of the pro contingent. Bass and Passerman, row 2. Wills and Ahern, row 3. Reiter and Dreyer, row 4. Furs and Chatterton, row 5. Kellerberg and Reynolds on row 6, with Campbell and Uringer on row 7, with Pale not finishing, therefore starting at the back of the pro contingent. For the AMS, it's DeBova and Camano on the front row. Slats and Jeremy DeBova on row 2. Franken and McKeown, row 3. Chamorro and Ferrer, row 4. Janssen and Gutzel, row 5, with Sastamoinen and R.A.W.S on row 6 for the AMS, and row 7 is Green and Timms. Schuster and Halabi on row 8, then Linden and S row 9, then Jarks and Bouts on row 10 with Dodd and Timothy van der Broek at the tail end of the Anfield. And now the rolling map has begun.
Here they go. This is when the adrenaline starts to pump. You get yourself mentally ready as a driver, of course. Very crucial to get those tyres and those brakes warmed up, because you do not want to be going straight on at the Tamburello chicane. It's a chicane that has taken many victims in races before. But, of course, Thomas Cope managed to win the reverse grid race last time out at Watkins Glen, was able to hold off a charging Alex Urenga and maintain that pace. He's pretty much doing it all over again here at Imola. He will lead Ethan Bass, who will join him, and Thomas Dandridge at the front of the field. The safety car will pull off to the right-hand side. We will get ourselves underway here for the reverse grid race, race number 2 for the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 European Championship. Race 2, round number 4 here at Imola. Thomas Cope will lead them round. Thomas Dandridge, how good of a start can he get in that Mercedes? And we go. It's pedal to the metal for Thomas Cope. Has he got the legs over Thomas Dandridge? Indeed he has. Ethan Bass also trying to get himself into the mix, of course, with Patterman trying to just follow suit, but they tuck themselves in single file towards Tamburello for the first time. I don't think anyone really looking keen to make a move. In fact, actually, no, there's Michael Patterman going to try and go the long way around on Ethan Bass. Not quite able to. Furs and Ahern going side by side, swapping places for 7th and 8th. Urenga already up into P12. There goes Thomas Dandridge for a spin, and already into the traffic. Everyone just about manages to avoid the spinning Mercedes, but that is such a shame for the 25 R.A.W.S as we see the GT3 AMS get themselves underway. The Porsche will lead them underway for the second race in a row, and Kamano doesn't quite seem to have the jump either, but that is such a shame for the Mercedes.
Great shame, but he did the right thing of staying absolutely still with the pack around him. Being predictable in circumstances like that is absolutely what you need. Trouble for Jonas Dreyer as well. He's returned himself to the pit lane. So, disaster for the number 5 car as we now look at Gus Franken in the midst of the AM category. It looks like everybody has survived the first few turns. Okay, let's have a look. So this is what happened to Jonas Dreyer. Just, well, he's clearly had a trouble and then just plows himself into the wall. Okay, slightly unusual, but that's so he got caught up in that initial incident. So he probably just tapped the stationary Mercedes, couldn't quite recover the car, and sadly introduced his own car to the wall.
Meeting his good old friend Barry out there, going around for a cup of tea, or well, probably a 3/4 meal with the shunt that he had into that wall. This is Ethan Bass. He's got R.A.W.S for company as we ride on board, looking in the rearview camera. I do love sim racing for the camera angles that we can get, and just look at that Mercedes charging and closing at a rate of knots, forcing the Ford to go to the left-hand side in order to launch a defensive offense. Defense is the best offense in some cases, but unfortunately on that in that case, R.A.W.S just soared around the outside of Ethan Bass, and yeah, that is not the way in this field that Ethan Bass would want to go. He'd much rather try and look a little bit further forward, but yeah, R.A.W.S, of course, with his pace in race 1, seems to be just an inevitable force in order to carve his way forward, and especially in the difference between the Mercedes, which is tipped to be the fastest car of the bunch, compared to the Ford GT, which is undeniably the slowest of the bunch.
Victor Tamaro's had trouble. He's dropped to the back of the AMS, unfortunately, as we ride on board with Dean Timms, who our interviewee Simon Dodd lined up as his arch rival, as he draws alongside Sastamoinen as they head down towards Tamburello. A relatively straightforward move for Dean Timms. Just about gets that one slowed down, nearly ploughed off into the dust. Side by side right ahead, R.A.W.S and Ferrer having an argument as well. But arguments going on all over the place as they're looking at 3 wide. Coming into Alta. It's so narrow there, but very nicely. Wow, Passerman really was, Kalberg was determined to make that move stick, and that he did. I don't know how the hell he did that without impact. Well, let's ride on board with the Swede and see. I mean, my gosh, truth. That's balls of steel to go side by side there. Force the heavy braking from the Ferrari there, as Christian First has made a mistake and dropped a long way back in the pro contingent as this field then works its way past the start finish line. What happened to the Ferrari? Just ran out of road. That's a bit unfortunate again. Ooh, nearly slid into the former leading Lamborghinis as we jump back up towards our sole Ford. Ethan Bass, the Scotsman, the number 52, has lost that 3rd position to Thomas Reiter as R.A.W.S has claimed the fastest lap of the race. It took a couple of cars ahead, up in second position in the Audi. I beg your pardon, he's slightly further up the road than that. There's Liam and Ahern in the number 9. Almost wandering too wide, coming through the Villeneuve chicane, and in he gets the similarly coloured Lamborghini nailed to his diffuser. But that was a big move then from the Lamborghini behind to take that position.
Here comes David Camano to the left-hand side. He's got to be bold on the brakes. Navarro de Boiva's got to give that place up. And, well, that is a fantastic move from the Spaniard up into first place. The number 17, Navarro de Boiva, just holding station, I think, just giving that one up and waiting for the next perfect opportunity. Of course, he's got his father, Jeremy Boiva, right behind him. So is it going to be a father-son offensive against the BMW, who gets it all sorts of wrong on the exit of Villeneuve, looking to the inside? Navarro de Boiva going to try and go the long way round. Simon Dodd tries, he said in the interview, to avoid carnage in these reverse grid races. Unfortunately, he's found himself right in the middle of it, and that is a shame indeed. Again, this is Ivo van der Linden, who was our championship leader coming into this round, getting a little bit squirrely with the likes of that 44 Lamborghini, and oh wow, that happened.
Oh yeah, that got very ugly very quickly, and yeah, Simon Dodd taking the reverse element or reverse grid a little bit too literally and having to go backwards. So Dominic Goodsall and Ivo Linden are back into the pit lane. So disaster then for the AM Championship leader. Dean Timms is in trouble, is falling down the field. As I can see on the timing screens, we continue to watch Thomas Reiter get challenged and overtaken by Ethan Bass for third position. What a fantastic fight for third position in the pros. There's Liam Ahern, and there is Dean Timms. So he's probably been forced off the road at Tosa at a rough guess. So coming down a big, nope, that's Aquamina Raleigh. Oh, just a little bit too quickly. Yeah, you saw he got loose just as he was coming into the first part of Aquamina Raleigh. As we're now back live again, there's Ethan Bass trying to get away from the chasing cars behind. He's got himself a little bit of breathing space in third, but that isn't going to last long. As well we know, Sean Campbell second in the first race, now up to 9th position in the Lamborghini. He's chasing off after race winner Alex Urenga. So the two Lamborghinis, the two RJA Lamborghinis, are still in close quarters with Urenga ahead of the two again. There's David Camano still fending off the advances of the de Boiva pair. Behind, hanging on to the lead of the Anthem, you've got Slats right behind. That's James Slats doing what he can to hang on to the top 3, on board with Navarro de Boiva, who retired from the first race. The number 4 car nailed to the back of the BMW, coming through Piratella once again, now down the hill. It's very, very hard to make anything work there, coming down into Aquamina Raleigh. But he's keeping very, very close, piling the pressure on. BMW versus Porsche, trying to get the better exit up and over the crest. Looks at the inside line, the outside line, sorry, and gets that door very much slammed in his face.
Camano putting up, well, a pretty tough defence against Navarro de Boiva, who, well, we've seen often in fights for race lead how the person that overtakes just shoots off in distance, but Navarro de Boiva putting up a really good a counter-attack of sorts, and will want to make this counter-attack work for him. Of course, with Jeremy de Boiva just behind, probably the Porsche pair are going to work together, and of course down this pit straight, or straight of sorts, your full throttle for all of it towards Tamburello chicane. He's going to have, of course, as I said in race 1, that high downforce means even more benefit from the slipstream side by side between Patterman and Chatterton towards the Piratella. Around the outside goes Michael Patterman, very nicely done. Urenga also going to try and follow him all the way around the outside. What a move from the Lamborghini, just to be able to take some easy pickings. Went a little bit off the road there, but we'll ignore it as the number 19 carves his way up the field towards P7, and again eyeing up P6 on that run towards the Variante Alto. Is he going to get the braver braking in towards the outer? Not quite going to be able to, and just tucking in behind. And this is a common theme that we see with Urenga, is that he's in no rush. He's like, I'm quick. I'm quicker than these guys. I can afford just to sit behind for a little bit, but still we just have to cut our attention up and down the field. Don't really know. We're getting a bit dizzy as how much we're looking up and down this field, but once more Navarro de Boiva eyeing up that move on Camano and building the pressure.
Great stuff, yeah. Dave Christie, our cameraman, doing a fantastic job of bringing us all the action possible Of course, we can't point the cameras in every single direction, physically impossible. So Navarro van der Bove trying again to muscle its way past the BMW. The little Porsche is not going to be able to muscle anything past the Beamer. So doing what he can, as that's Patterman trying to make a move on Uringa, but the race 1 winner is not going to be denied by the Audi this time around. Again, I would imagine the Audis probably aren't putting up a huge amount of fight to Uringa and Campbell. Like I was saying in the interview with Simon Dodd, you know realistically who you're in a fight against, and they know that's not pretty much their fight. So there goes Campbell again, a fairly straightforward line, and you saw the amount of space Patterman left. If he was determined to defend that line, he'd have stuck himself to the defensive line and made Campbell work for it. It wasn't worth it. It was just going to slow each other down, and the Lamborghini would have found his way past anyways. We come back to the AM lead. Still 3 cars vying for that top spot, with with the 4th not far behind. Now, the Navarro de Bove, I can't say those amount of syllables that quickly. He's still doing an amazing job, staying nailed to the back of the BMW, who's run a little bit wide. Is this an opportunity then for Navarro? No, he doesn't commit to the outside line around Toza. Again, you at this stage of the race, that's probably wise. Doesn't want to do anything to jeopardize his position. He's clearly got the pace to stay with Camano at the moment, as he keeps putting the pressure on. In the final 10 minutes of the race, sure, make those, try and push for the maneuver. At this stage, no point. You've got time on your side.
You do indeed, and this is Van der Breggen, our race 1 winner, and I believe our GT3 AM Championship leader coming into this race, and that is on the exit of Villeneuve, a corner that has taken many a victim over the curb, and wow, that BMW already looks vastly damaged, and he's just going to get a little bit extra on top, just for good measure, just to make sure the car doesn't work. I don't know what his insurance are going to say about that one, but I'm sure they're not going to be very happy. And he just left the pits a couple of minutes ago as well, so that is not great at all. And those sausage curbs, they are so lethal, especially at the speed they're going into there.
I mean, they're tough, but they're not that tough for GT3 cars. Van der Breggen's already a lap down within 10 minutes, so that shows you how bad his race has gone. Top 4 of the AMs once again. Simon Dodd is back out on track. Jonas Dreyer is back out on track as well, amazingly. Again, a few laps down, but still worth having the argument. Now we see that conga line is 4 cars long. Here is the battle for what is currently 5th position. Alex Urenga has got Reiter and Campbell for company. Now Campbell is still behind Thomas Reiter at this stage. There you've got Bass and Kellerberg having their own battle for 3rd at the moment. Now, again, like I said, they've still got time on the side, but in fairness to Thomas Reiter, he's not making that easy for Sean Campbell. He is actually defending against the Lamborghini. And here comes that AM battle again, looking back camera from David Camano. And you saw, again, Navarro de Bove he didn't have to back out of it. He did back out of it. He's not wanted to do anything so silly. He's trying to force the error. He's trying to make this overtake as easy as he can and make David, the Spaniard, crack under the pressure. But at the moment, the number 17's got it all in his stride.
Indeed so, and still putting up a mighty defense, not letting the pressure get to him, because it's one of those things that you either perform under or you crack under, and in this case the pressure is certainly making David Camano into a diamond. And he's got Navarro de Bove for company, of course, as well. Jeremy de Bove and James Slights not far behind. So, this 3-car battle can very quickly become a 4-car train for the race. The number 4 Porsche looking menacing in the rearview mirror of David Camano, who once again exits the final couple of corners and onto this pit straight towards Tamburello. That Porsche looks menacingly close and looks eager to find a way through if he can. The BMW looking in his mirrors, looking to think, which way do I go? Left, right, do I defend? Because I don't want to defend thin air, but I also don't want to let him through. Navarro de Bove, they're going to pull to the right hand side. Which way is he going to go? Going to back out of it on this particular occasion though and just sit single file. And I think maybe that is learning from his past mistakes. Of course, in race 1, maybe fought a little bit too hard, made a couple of desperate mistakes, and that cost him towards the end. Of course, hardly made it to the checkered flag at all, as we see Timo McEwen and Al Haddad fight over P5. But again, it could just be patience, learning from those mistakes from Navarro de Bove. He has this golden opportunity and he doesn't want to throw it away unless he gets a perfect opportune moment to do so.
Very, very true. Also, Kamano doing a great defensive job, parking his car perfectly in the middle of the road, heading down towards the first chicane of Tamburello. Can you see the Porsche just hugging that inside line a little bit harder than the BMW, but that gives Kamano a slightly better run coming out of Pires Helid. All Kamano has to do is just keep doing what he's doing, just maintain his line. That BMW is a big old beast. And he's parking it perfectly to make it as wide as he possibly can. So it's making Navarro at... I don't know if he's making him impatient. Oh, I thought that was going to be, introduction of Porsche to BMW there, but no, just about avoided impact. I would imagine Navarro thought the same thing. There's probably a few Belgian words going on in the helmet that we probably couldn't broadcast. But slightly further up front, fastest lap of the race, unsurprisingly, Alex Urenga still now with Sean Campbell. So Campbell's got ahead of Reiter in 6th position. Now they're going to close down that 1.3 seconds between themselves and the Kellerberg-Bass battle. But now, let's see if it happens again. Now, last time around, as we're right on board with second place in the AMS, Navarro de Bova, he got to this point. He's not closed in as much as he did last time on the BMW. He would, by the time that blue cone came past, he had a look on the outside line. But again, Kamano just positioned his car perfectly to force de Bova to have to go to the outside line, which he didn't fancy doing coming through the Tamburello chicane. So again, nicely done. Just Kamano just doing what he needs to do, not doing anything silly. He's not making a mistake just yet. Oh, look, just the words leave my mouth. A little bit squiggly coming out of the Villeneuve chicane. Now that's going to compromise his line through Tozer, is it? Oh, here comes de Bova Jr. Though the two de Bovas have swapped round now. So if one can't do it, let the other one have a try. We'll see. It did look like, though, that Jeremy didn't quite have the pace that Navarro had. We'll see if that proves to be the case, as now Kamano's got a tiny bit of breathing space.
For now, of course, Jeremy de Bova Senior is higher up in the championship standings, so you have to say, as Urenga picks off yet another target up into P4 for the RSR by butt kicker Lamborghini, our dominant championship leader so far. Sean Campbell closely in tow, using him as the battering ram towards the front of the field. They're eyeing up the Mercedes of Kjellberg to get themselves on to the podium. But Ethan Bass, doing a great job in that Ford, as you say, picking his fights well, knowing who he can and can't fight. As we see to the left-hand side goes Sean Campbell, pretty straightforward move just to get it stopped, get it onto the apex and stay still in that slipstream of his teammates. Alex Urenga in front, and doing a fantastic job. And back to Am, here we go, David Kamano. He's got a different de Bova for company this time around, still a Porsche in the form of that number 14. Has Jeremy de Bova got the legs? Has he got the confidence to send one to the inside? We saw how valiant of a defense Kamano can put up. To the left hand side goes Jeremy. He's going to think about it, putting that psychological pressure on, but again, still not quite as close. And while you said Jeremy de Bova might not have the pace over his son, he's not doing too bad of a job at all.
He's doing a superb job, absolutely. Fair play for de Bova Senior to now step up to the plate, and now he be the one applying pressure. But there was always that little bit of a gap between father and son, second to third, leading up to this point, which that gap is very clearly not there, as Navarro is very, very close to the tail of the now second place Porsche. So they may well swap round again. If Jeremy feels like he's holding up Navarro, then they may well swap round again. We will see. But anything they need to do, they need to figure out how to work together to get past that BMW, because at the moment David Kamano is just proving to be an unmovable force.
Yeah, he really is. He's, of course, as you said, that BMW is a pretty chonky boy, but again, versus those two nice and sleek Porsches, of course, ganging up on him and trying to put up an offensive initiative through Variante Alta, and Kamano holding his nerve for the time being, but still a long way left to go in this race. Still just over half an hour left to go, and of course the cycle of pit stops left to play is hand in this race. Also, Dean Timms moving up into P14 ahead of Jarmo Sassamoinen, but through the final corner once more, as Jeremy de Bova got the nerve really to go for the move. Does he want to go for the move? Again, only time will tell, but I think this could be a race won in the pit lane on strategy, because if these two have got the pace, because they seem to be all over the rear end of that BMW, maybe if they had the clear air in front, they could get the jump, but again, only time will tell on that front.
Early pit stop then from Matthew Green, the number 34 car, into the pit lane. We'll see if that goes his way a little bit later on. Yeah, exactly as you say, Zach. It's Jeremy just doesn't. He has the pace. Well, actually, both the Bovas have the pace to close in on Kamano, but not quite that extra little bit to get past. But it could be fuel saving. It could just be tactical. I can't imagine they would need to fuel save unless they've really underfueled the car. It's possible, but I just think they're just biding their time. They don't want to leave themselves open to counterattack from that BMW because, again, clearly David Kamano has the pace. Oh, no, that's Sastamoinen. The Finn is into the wall at Tamburello. What's he done? Who's he had an argument with? Oh, goodness me, nearly come to blows with the green Mercedes. Oh, he did come to blow with the green Mercedes. Oh, that got a bit unfortunate. So, oh dear, that's not what you want to see. So, Sastamoinen, the one that came off a bit worse for wear on that one. That's what I reckon this is. I reckon they're just biding their time. They've got the pace to make the move. They're just opting not to at the moment. Having a look, they're trying to basically make the move as easy as they can. They want to force the mistake onto David Kamano rather than force the move that puts their Porsche at risk. They want the BMW off into the dust and to then give them the easy run as that's Felice Perel. The Austrian then just goes too deep at Villeneuve. That's allowed the inside line. That's Christian Fers in the Ferrari then that's just claimed that particular spot. Bit of a gap then between the two Debovas this time as Timo McEwen has come in. And no, again, Jeremy could have tried to banzai that. At this stage in the race, he doesn't fancy it. He doesn't want to try and whisk his position. Further up top, though, that's Kjellberg. That's hustling. That is lap traffic, so that's not Harry Wills ahead. But right behind is Alex Uringa and Sean Campbell as our race leader, Thomas Cope, has gone off the road.
No!
I just saw he gone off the track. But that's a mistake on the exit of the final turn of Ravazza. The Neapolitan-coloured Lamborghini has slammed the wall.
No,
he bounced off the back marker. Oh, my goodness me. I mean, quite why you try a move like that? You're coming out of Ravazza is a bit of a question mark. I think that was a little bit too impatient from Thomas Cope there. And he's paid the price dearly. He should have been a little bit more patient than that. I mean, he probably didn't anticipate the BMW being that slow through Ravazza, in fairness. But a bit more patience would have paid dividends over Thomas Cope. Either way, he's going again, but down in fifth.
I make this joke week in, week out. Oh, who's that off? I think that's the BMW that Thomas Cope comes to lowest. I usually make this joke in a positive sense for Thomas Cope, but yeah, unfortunately for him, he hasn't coped with the pressure very well of leading the race, and that is a shame because now he's down into P5 for a very avoidable mistake. And I mean, the BMW did go wide. It is a lapped car. You would expect them to back off, and I think that Thomas Cope is just on his line and just unfortunately drifted into the side of him. And of course, with how sensitive those cars are, especially those Lamborghinis, how small they are compared to the size of that BMW, was just unfortunately tapped round and sent round. And well, Alex Urenga, Sean Campbell and Kjellberg have a much easier time of finding their way through. But those two Lamborghinis, they are the Charging Bulls seeing red in the form of that Mercedes in second place. And well, Alex Urenga, he's certainly going to have that move surely.
Well, we'll see. Will the Mercedes defend against, as you say, the Charging Bulls behind? Harry Wills then is, 5 seconds up the road and in the lead of the race at the moment. I would think Harry will put on a bit more of a defence against the Lamborghinis than we've seen thus far. Albin Kjellberg then ahead of Uringa and Campbell at this stage. You see Alex Uringa is just he's not hustling, he's not pressuring. He knows he's got the pace to do the move when he needs to, but he's going to be mindful of the gap between himself and Harry Wills, which of course has been just decimated as the race has gone on. However, slightly further back, Stuart Reynolds does not have the luxury of time. He's or of space, I should say, as he is challenging for 7th position in the AM category. Slightly further, that's the top of the AMs at the moment. David Kamano still with the presence of the two Porsches, and then a little bit further behind them, you have got James Slats and El Haddad, Ashraf El Haddad, are fairly close together. There's the Porsche, and there is the Ferrari then heading down to the Lamborghini, beg your pardon, coming down towards Ravazza once again. Actually, is that El Haddad? No, beg your pardon, it isn't. That's not El Haddad. Right behind, that's a lap car, I think. So, it is El Haddad. Oh, beg your pardon. But it did look like the Porsches were drawing side by side with Kamano. Has the mistake been made? That's Jeremy on the inside line. Can't quite get it done though. it did definitely get a bit squiggly between the three of them, or certainly the lead of the Dubovas and Kamano at one point. But the BMW just hangs on to the AM lead at the moment.
For now, and that is going to be a wake-up call, I think, for Kamano, that this race lead is not set in stone by any means. Still having a good offensive once more, and to the inside goes Jeremy Deboiva. He thought about it, certainly did, and while putting that pressure on, thought to just dummy to the inside. It was a fairly good effort, in all fairness to him, and now really starting to apply the pressure and put Kamano into that awkward place of how hard does he fight this race lead. And well, Navarro Deboiva wants his dad to get a shifty on, because yeah, we saw how close he managed to close the gap in towards the Tamburello chicane, and yeah, very, very close between the two. This is Thomas Reiter and I believe Stuart Reynolds again going side by side, and or not indeed actually going side by side.
There's a back marker.
There is a back marker in the way, so I think Stuart Reynolds had to carve his way through in order to stay in this fight for 7th place. But back again to this fight, and well, it's a three-car train. While it hasn't been too chaotic, it can very quickly turn chaotic, as we just saw then. Just imagine what it's going to be when James Slade and El Haddad close up, and El Haddad did get himself up into P4, but very, very close still, and Kamano is parking the bus.
Yeah, Kamano got all kinds of squiggly in the first part of Ravazza, but Jeremy could do nothing about it. Nowhere to use any kind of advantage there. Is he going to press his advantage this time? Has Kamano cooked his sides a little bit too much? The Porsche starts to gain. Debova Senior will be right behind. Here comes Jeremy. He has a look in the outside line. That door gets closed again. He's going to commit to the inside this time. He noses into the lead. Can he make it stick? Oh no! Junior goes and turns Kamano. Oh no! A small mistake from the second Debova sends David Kamano round and tumbling down the field. Oh my goodness. Oh, and Furs is in trouble again. That Ferrari has been pretty disastrous for him. Has he had an incident with Pale? We will see. Well, this is the incident. Well, this is the overtake to start with. So that's Jeremy getting past Kamano, and then Junior just goes in a little too hot. And yeah, I mean, you can see just by the amount of the amount of squiggle going on for the second Debova was down to the impact. But I assume he didn't expect Cameron to retake the racing line there, but where else was we going to go? And that's what happened to Christian First with his Pale barreling into Acqua Minerale. Absolutely about 3 weeks too late on the brakes for that one. And the pair of them are together again, so they're having their own argument at the back. Strictly speaking, not for wooden spoon avoidance, as Dandridge isn't out of the race. He's just been in the pits for nearly 25 minutes.
Not out until the checkered flag drops, I suppose. It's a Deboiva 1-2. Last time we saw this was race 2 at Le Mans, all the way back for round number 1. And well, they are going to try and hang on to this. But of course, in fighting with Kamano, they've brought El Haddad and Slate into the mix. Now that Lamborghini does look punchy, does look like he wants to get himself up yet another place. And how quickly it can turn sour for even the most respectful of drivers. I'm sure there was no malice in it at all. Has the Lamborghini got the legs? Not quite to be brave enough on the brakes in towards the Tamburello chicane, but I think Navarro might just play the team game here, play the family game. Just give his dad something to try and run away with and park the bus and keep these guys behind. Of course, try and hang on for second place himself as well. But again, of course, it's going to build a margin for the first place man to just sort of run away with it.
Could well do. Dean Timms brings the number 46 car into the pits, as well as we see Ashraf El Haddad all over the back on Navarro Debova, who is now build up that lead. Nearly 2 seconds now between the two Porsches, as the Lamborghini is nailed to the back of the number 4 car, coming down through Piratella, down towards Acqua Minerale again. The Lamborghini's not likely to be able to make a move here. Is he going to try and make a move into the next chicane? Porsche takes a little bit more road, absolutely fine. Again, you can use that green AstroTurf as long as you're back on the road before you hit tarmac again, as Phyllis Payel has brought his car in, the number 84 from the Pro contingent, has come in. No change between the Porsche and the Lamborghini just yet. And then right behind, James Slate is still looming, but he's lost about 1.6 seconds to those ahead. There is the number 84 coming in and coming to rest, serving his mandatory pit stop of the race. There is our race 1 leader out to second, and that's not the race leader directly ahead of him. That's still 4.6 seconds down the road, and he is closing in a couple of tenths a lap or so but ultimately he's dragging his teammate with him as well. Well, Campbell still has to get past Kellberg at the moment, so the Mercedes may well still put up a bit of a fight, as there's that wounded BMW directly ahead, who should just pull out of the way, but again, you know, God, there's not much of the front end of that BMW left.
Yeah, indeed. So he's not got much of a BMW to get past, but well, yeah, naturally so. You're going to see that BMW pull over to the right-hand side. We're going to see if Sean Campbell can seal the move, get himself onto the podium, and continue that charge forward with his teammate Alex R.A.W.S, who has, well, firmly led the team forwards in this bid for a reverse grid race victory. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, that 4.5 second gap between himself and R.A.W.S can close. He had, I think it was something like a 6 or a 7 second gap to close on Thomas Cope last time out at Watkins Glen. So it's certainly doable. Alex R.A.W.S just has to keep that pace up consistently for the remainder of the race. This is a battle for 6th place. We've got Schuster trying to go around the outside of Franken there, I believe, on the inside of him through the Piratella towards the Aqua Minerale. And, well, he's just going to have to tuck in behind for the time being. And, of course, that is Jensen, actually. This is a fight for P5. That Ferrari, though, done a great job and great mutual respect between the two.
Nicely done indeed, yes. Schuster and Franken having an argument with Kurt Howard Jensen there. So there's Kellerberg still ahead of Sean Campbell's. Not what the Lamborghini would have wanted, but you know, Kellerberg proved in race 1 he's got a lot of pace to utilise in the BWT Mercedes. And it looks like Pale has retired the car. We certainly come to park it according to the tower. Oh, the Lamborghini's having a look at the inside of Variante Alto. It does not make the move stick. It's very hard, although we have seen successful moves there through the course of the evening. It is really, really difficult. It's exceedingly narrow to make a move stick there, as another fastest lap of the race last time around for Alex R.A.W.S. Side by side again, it's Jensen and Schuster. The Ferrari and Audi having an argument down towards Tamburello once again. It is Schuster this time that claims the 5th position as Gus Franken brings his car into the pit lane. More pit stops served. Still plenty more to go, and still plenty of fighting left in the remaining. Struth, we've only got less than 20 minutes of the race, half an hour down. That's absolutely flown by.
It really has, and time flies when you're having fun, and for a lot of these guys, they're going to be having either a fantastic time or not the greatest time. An example of those will be that man in P9 there, Kamano, as well. Schuster getting it. Actually, no, it was Jensen getting it a little bit squirrely off the exit of Toast there, trying to stay in the fight for P5. Coming into this race, of course, the reverse grid race, you're going to set yourself targets slightly longer. Of course, getting to the end is always a good start. Then you're like, okay, I've got some pace here. Let's try and move forward, get inside the top 10, then the top 5, top 3, and of course, taking the race victory. And of course, Stefan Schuster has the borderline of that top 5, because it's only a couple of points. It is just nicer to say, oh yeah, I finished in the top 5, as opposed to, oh yeah, I finished 6th. Just flows a little bit nicer.
Yeah, 100%. It does give you that bit of confidence boost, but also you're proving to others around you that you have the pace to mix it with the very best. As Kellerberg still proving a moving obstacle for Sean Campbell as they come through Variante Alto once again. That's very deep for the Mercedes. Just about managed to. He's been given a slowdown for that. I thought he had. He looked like he was getting a little bit squiggly at the end of that. He's been given a slowdown, although he's keeping as fast as he can while slowing down. It's a bit of an odd statement to say, but if you know the iRacing penalty system, you'll get what I mean. Ashraf El Haddad ahead of Navarro de Bova. As what's the lead now for Jeremy? That's 3.3 seconds. More pit stops happening. So that's Wills and Campbell from the pro contingent coming in. Alex R.A.W.S is now your race leader with a storming 140.39 fastest lap. He is wanting to decimate that gap between himself and Harry Wills. Ethan Bass and Chris Chatterton also in the pit lane. Jeremy de Bova is leading the AM still, but he's got El Haddad closing in on him. Now he's lost his rear gunner.
Crunch time at the front of the GT3 Pro field. Alex R.A.W.S needs to make the most of this clear air and just branch away from those behind, but of course Harry Wills needs to maximise this pit stop phase as well and just try and minimise the deficit when Alex R.A.W.S comes into the pit lane. Of course, R.A.W.S is very notorious for just stretching his stint as long as possible. Really, he's one of the last few to pit, and again, that just helps him tremendously in terms of the pit strategy. The longer you go, the less you have to put back in the tank to get to the checkered flag. So if he's managed to carve his way through the field and do a bit of fuel saving along the way, could find himself in a pretty neat position come the end of this race, or at least minimize the deficit he has to close up to Harry Wills by the end of this race, especially because Harry Wills has actually, I believe, come out behind Sean Campbell. So that is interesting.
He has indeed. It's very close, but yeah, well spotted. Sean Campbell's pit stop was nearly 2 seconds shorter than Harry Wills is, so that's what's helped the 26 car jump up into fifth. What it's currently fifth position, as we look at current race leader Alex Iringa to go another lap. So last time around was that storming 140.3, as we see Jesper Jarks just coming into the pit then on the right hand side of the shot, along with Vladimir Halibay. 140.5, so still the fastest man by quite some considerable pace is Alex Iringa at the moment. So again, absolutely phenomenal pace from that leading Lamborghini. He's wanting to just push as hard as he can to make sure he's the one that comes out on top, as Patterman now brings his car into the pits from fourth.
We are well and truly into this pit stop cycle, and it is quite a broad range of when people come in between the first and the last. Of course, along the way you'll have some unscheduled stops, especially in the first couple of laps, as people still try and find their rhythm in this race. That's when we're going to see the main mistakes. But in terms of the actual pit window, it is quite large. Do you come in early? Do you come in quite late? And or do you just come in smack bang in the middle when you're expected to? But again, that is the true beauty of motor racing. Sometimes the difference in strategies can all funnel down and bring you to the end. Of course, we don't see it too often in sprint races like this. We often see it in the likes of the longer endurance races, but it still can play a factor in these races, and you do have to get it right, because while it can only be a small gain for getting it right, it can certainly be a big loss if you don't.
100% true. Jeremy DeBova has brought his car into the pits then. The number 14 is in. James Slats is in as well, the 86 on the AM contingent. So that will hand the lead over to Ashraf Al Haddad, and Navarro DeBova still nailed to his rear wing as well. So that battle still continues. Looks like Christian Furs has had trouble again. And our top two is in. So Duringa and Kellerberg both coming in at the same time. Now has Alex Duringa's... Whoa! Nice slide there. Well caught from Navarro DeBova there. No, it's going to cost him a little bit of time though. Thomas Reiter is in as well, so the top three have come in now. Is Sean Campbell going to be able to take over the lead for the time being? Harry Wills still right with him. So we will see. James Slats is now coming out of the pits and returns in, 22nd overall. Of course, he is in the AM contingent. Now then, what is happening? Well, I mean, Haddad is doing a great job of continuing to build. He's got a little bit of breathing space from the young DeBova. Can he continue to do so and maintain the AM lead? Once all the pit stops are done, we will see. Only about 8 or so cars yet to see the pit lane.
Towards the tail end of that pit lane sequence now, as we're waiting for the final few. One of them is, of course, our race leader of Alex Urenga up in the GT3 Pros, and again another is El Haddad, who is now pinning his way into the pit lane. So see where he comes out relative to everyone else. Same to Navarro Boiva also follows him in, trying to keep the number 20 honest in his pursuit to try and seal second place. And again, we still have around about 13 minutes left of this race to go, and still a lot of questions to be answered. A dissimilar situation to that in race one, where we saw pretty much no action towards the front, and now it's really kicking off in both on-track action and, of course, in that pit lane. Yeah, the stars really have been those 5 in the GT3 AM. El Haddad, Navarro Boiva, David Camano, and of course Jeremy Boiva as well. And I think it was, not entirely sure. We'll have to double check who else was there. It was James Slates, of course. Sorry, he's not that forgettable, I promise. But here we go. El Haddad given a race on the exit of the pit lane. I think Jeremy Boiva just able to pip him. But again, that gap is not big by any means. I think El Haddad needs to get those tyres up to temperature quickly and then try and pile the pressure on.
But crucially, Navarro DeBova is quite some way behind. So his pit stop was fully 2 seconds longer than Ashraf El Haddad, and they both came into the pits at the same time. So that indicates to me that either DeBova was a little bit too cautious getting his pit lane speed limiter on, or he overshot his pit box. I suspect it's the latter. If you're too cautious with the pit lane speed limiter, you don't tend to lose 2 seconds. You do lose that kind of time if you overshoot your pit box, have to hit reverse and then go backwards and then hit your marks. So I suspect that Navarra had to do that. Either way, he's come out 3.2 seconds behind Ashraf El Haddad, whereas he was within half a second before. Whereas up front, Duringer is 1.5 seconds ahead of Sean Campbell, who's half a second ahead of Kellerberg. Sorry, 1.6 seconds ahead of Campbell, beg your pardon, who is not too far. No, it's a couple of seconds ahead of Kellerberg, beg your pardon. But Kellerberg has Wills in short order, Harry Wills in short order, as Jensen, I think. Oh no, it's just Jensen and Victor Chamorro, get that right in a minute, yet to see the pit lane.
Still waiting for those final few. They are stretching this out towards the tail end. That is not something we often see, but again, we'll have to see, as I think Urenga actually getting onto the back of some lap traffic, so that could allow Sean Campbell and Kjellberg to close the gap. This is Stuart Reynolds on the outside of Ethan Bass in towards Alta. Is Ethan Bass going to fight this one as hard as he can? And yeah, in towards Alta. If you've got that inside line, if you're convincingly alongside, it's your corner essentially. It's very single file by yourself. You just launch over those curbs, as Jensen and Chamorro finally into the pit lane. But by yourself, you're out to, you just launch over the curbs. You're not really using the full extent of the track. You're not taking it a right then a left. You'll just straight line it as much as you can. So to go side by side is very, very difficult unless you have complete and utter trust in those around you. But Jeremy Boyves still leading the way. Re-inherited that race lead, of course, as Jensen came into the pit lane, and that gap between himself and El Haddad is growing. And well, unless El Haddad has got an answer for this one soon, time is certainly on the Belgian side.
Yeah, Jeremy de Bovis set his personal best last time around of 42.0. Look at this lot. Someone flew off the road. I think it was Gus Franken and Jeremy Slat had possibly gone off the road. There's Thomas Coe. Well, there's Zuringer, who has gotten past this particular pack, but that's cost him time to Kellerberg and Campbell behind. So Campbell can't act as rear... Well, he can kind of act as rear gunner to Zuringer. Not that he particularly needs it, as Zuringer's the fastest man by a long way. James Slat has lost a lot of time. He's gone off the road somewhere. I wonder if he was the one at the back of this absolute gaggle of cars as they're flown off the road. And he's off the road again, apparently. So let's look at it again. So here's Gus Franken. Oh, and there you go. The two great Porsches just bouncing over the curb and causing absolute chaos. James Slat has recovered back to the pit. So on board with second place Kellerberg, as he's looking at Alex Urenga, who had a bit of a slowdown there, so he's lost some time, less than a second between the Lamborghini and the Mercedes. There's only half a second back to the next Lamborghini in the road. So Kellerberg may well need a bit of help to get Urenga in his sights, but the lead battle is not concluded.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. Alex Urenga needs to pick up his form back once again. Of course, had a bit of a hiccup in that form of the traffic loss. 8/10 on that last lap. He needs to hope his teammate Sean Campbell, as you say, can act as that rear gunner, get into that second place and hold that Mercedes up as best as possible. But again, through in towards turn 4 and towards the Villeneuve chicane, Kjellberg trying his absolute best to start to apply that pressure on. And once you get Urenga under pressure, you can, find some weaknesses and cracks in his front, but again, he is a tough cookie to crack as Sean Campbell launches one to the inside of toe. So that is something we didn't quite catch on board with the Mercedes, and quite quickly Alvin Kjellberg wants to launch the counter-attack as the Lamborghini goes to the middle of the circuit, planning it really nicely. Not a move you could really make confidently into the Piratella, and that was a crucial move to make for those two teammates.
Yeah, 100%. There it is. Switches back to the inside line. The Mercedes sees he's there and gives the necessary racing room, and then just nails himself to the diffuser of the Lamborghini. But can Kellerberg keep up with Sean Campbell? That is going to be the ultimate question, as Alex Urenga has got past the next back marker down the road. He is potentially Dean Timms, I think. But slightly further back, Stuart Reynolds is in a hell of a... So there's Ethan Bass is the leader of this particular conga line. Then it is Reynolds and Reiter, along with Chatterton. So 4-car train, all arguing for what is 6th position overall. And the Ford, despite it having a bit of a pace deficit, because Imola, you don't necessarily use the absolute top end for too long. that pace deficit is not too exasperated here, and he's still having to work very hard to keep the charging Italian machinery behind him.
Yes, indeed. But if you look back to previous races, Ethan Bass, there's a reason he's my boy. That's why I'm rooting for him in that Ford GT. Do love a bit of an underdog story, and he's holding on for P6 rather nicely. Stuart Reynolds is now trying to launch an offensive to the right-hand side. It'll be the long way round, of course, of the Tamburello chicane. Ethan Bass holding his nerve very nicely, though. Who's going to be the braver of the two on the brake pedal? It's going to be Ethan Bass, who just edges himself ahead, but of course with Reiter and Chatterton for company as they go through turn 4. This left-hander towards the Villeneuve chicane. Has the Lamborghini got the run to the left-hand side? They're going to run side by side, are they? Not quite, as the Lamborghini backs out and just got to get that run, maybe bait him into a mistake on that run towards Toaster. It seems Ethan Bass still holding him and keeping him at bay, but look at that move to the inside, brave on the brakes from the Lamborghini. They're going to run side by side now up the hill towards Piratella. Reiter and Chatterton just has to sit idle and watch this battle unfold, but Ethan Bass still keeping that Lamborghini at bay.
Oh, he kept a very level head there, did Ethan Bass. He could have easily panicked that the Lamborghini had gone for the inside line. But unfortunately, in doing so, Reynolds compromised his line. That's Derek Bout that has gotten that all wrong, or he was helped to get it all wrong at Acqua Minerale there. What happened here? So there is the golden Porsche in the middle. There's the Neapolitan Lamborghini behind. Oh, you've gone in a bit hot there, and the grass is not going to give you very much. And sliding off the road, and then having to recover. So all on your own there, but look at Ethan Bass has it all to do, and he has it all to do for another 5 minutes. That's a big move on the inside line for Reynolds. Can Stuart Reynolds make it stick? Yes, he can. I don't think the Ford's going to have too much of an answer here. Whilst the Ford is very good on the brakes, he's going to have to rely on that. He wants to try and banzai on the inside of Tamburello. Slipstream then for Ethan Bass, and of course for Reiter and Chatterton right behind. Ethan Bass in...
I think unfortunately we have lost Chris Bucks and maybe some mic issues, but Ethan Bass going to launch his way to the right hand side. Unfortunately going to fall to the clutches of Reiter and Chatterton behind as they run towards Villeneuve once more, and that is the thing of being second place in that trend. And now Reiter has got a convincing run, but Ethan Bass once more holding his nerve and putting up that defence to sail around the outside and stay in 7th place, and still maybe up a move on Stuart Reynolds just in front of him, but they have got to be careful. That is not Thomas Cope in front of him. That is just a back marker, but again Ethan Bass still doing really well in this fight, but again maybe in that Ford GT you have to say as soon as Reynolds found a way through, it was game over.
Well, we will see, because again we've seen a mistake or two, but less so in the feature race than we did in the shorter race earlier on. But as we now look at Sean Campbell, who now has the fastest lap of the race. Now, both Djuringa and Campbell have done a 40.39. It's just to the thousandths of a second. Campbell has proved himself ever so slightly quicker than Djuringa. Oh no, Ethan Bass is off the road. Oh, he's down to 9th. No. What's happened to the Ford? Oh no, he's off the road. He's had an incident somewhere, and there he is. That's up at Acqua Minerale. What's he done? He's hit. Just gone slightly too wide. The Ford said, I've had enough of this. I'm going to park in the shade. Oh, that's a great shame for Ethan. He was doing so well to fend off in a huge amount of pressure, and now he's going to have to recover. He's got very little time to try and mitigate that damage, unfortunately.
Indeed so. He's only got just over 3 minutes left of this race to go in the GT3 Pros. It is Alex Rengo that leads the way from Sean Campbell, Albin Kjellberg, Harry Wills and Thomas Cope, your top 5, and they have stayed station for a good few laps. Albin Kjellberg keeping the 26 Lamborghini honest for the last few laps, but I think the 2 Lamborghinis leading the way just have the extra little bit to stand head and shoulders above the rest of the field. But again, Kjellberg putting up a mighty effort to keep them even a smidge under pressure with how dominant RSR have been over the course of this season so far. More in particular Alex Djuringa, there is nothing really to fault him about this race so far. 3/10 quicker than his teammate on that previous lap, but Kjellberg is still there. I mean, I say that Sean Campbell has got this one in the bag. I don't really think he does, and all it will take is one tiny mistake, and we've seen plenty of those today, Chris, and well, it can still happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Djuringa last time around gained the fastest lap of the race. He didn't fancy his teammate having that particular accolade, and Kjellberg was very slightly, by 0.5 quicker than Campbell. So the Mercedes has enough grunt to at least mount a challenge to see what the lap times are. Oh my God, a 40.0 for Alex Uringer, a 40.3 for Campbell, a 40.6 for Kjellberg. So the Mercedes falling a little bit further back this time around, but still within a second to his prey up front. Personal best for Stuart Reynolds last time around, a 41.32. But Duringer has just been in another world. Oh no, Harry Wills has gone off the road. What's happened to the fourth place, number 95? Oh, that's what's happened to the number 95. He's had an excursion at Tamburello. Or has it been on the way to Tamburello? What's he done? That looks too hot. Yep. And, the clouts, the sausage goes. Is he going to get punched in the face? No, he manages to avoid collecting a car, but that's cost him a lot of time. And Thomas Cope has claimed that fourth position.
Has indeed. Thomas Cope, of course, after his spin and skirmish with the back marker a little bit earlier on, did look set to be in that race-winning fight between the likes of Uringer, Campbell and Kjellberg leading the way. But he's done really well to recover as best he can up into P4. Harry Wills was doing a really good job holding station there in P4, but again, as long as he can hang on for a top 5, that still isn't a bad result by any stretch of the imagination. A little bit further back, we have got a fight for P7 between Thomas Reiter and Chris Chatterton. Two Audis, two vastly different coloured Audis as well, and they're going to be fighting over the fringes of the top 7. Not entirely sure how much further forward the likes of Stuart Reynolds is. 1.56 seconds, so they're close, but again, I think they're going to focus on themselves with only, what is that now, 25 seconds of this race to go.
Indeed, so Uringer's just crossed the line to start the final lap of the night. He's 200ths of a second off his personal best, so he's not let up whatsoever. And Harry Wills has brought his car into the pit lane, so he did gain damage from smacking the sausage car. So that's from 5th place. The number 95 car has visited the pits. That is absolutely gutting for Harry Wills. But again, a class of 1 for the number 19. Alex Uringer will be unchallenged as he comes through Tozer. And even Campbell has managed to give himself a bit of breathing space from Albin Kjellberg, who's done a fantastic job of hanging on to the back of the Lamborghini as long as he could. Just didn't quite have the pace of the RSR by butt kicker pair this time around, as Uringer gets a fate. Is that that's one of the Debova Porsches? That's Navarro Debova that he's catching up to. So that is 3rd in the AMS that Uringer is now catching up to. I don't think Uringer is going to force his way past. The Porsche should just bleed out of the throttle along here, or maybe just ignore him and carry on down the road. I'd be bleeding out of the throttle as his first that is in the front. He hasn't run out of fuel, has he? Or just staying very. He might have run out of fuel. If he's gone that light in the fuel, that'll be absolutely gutting. But your winner for the 50-minute race is the number 19. He's made it 2 for 2 tonight. It is Alex Uringer.
Indeed it is. He goes 2 and 2. He's followed closely by his teammate in Sean Campbell. The 26 crossed the line in hot pursuit, and it's been a dominant affair between the pair of them. Alex Uringer, yet another win into the books. Wow, what a race it has been. Thomas Cope will come home P4 with Stuart Reynolds rounding off the top 5. Thomas Cope, of course, was up there towards the beginning, and as I said, had a skirmish with the back marker. This is Liam Ahern, not getting it to the checker flag in one piece on this final lap. Just going once more, another person running wide on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. Harry Wills getting it all sorts of squirrely off the exit, coming towards the line, still finishes inside the top 10. This is Navarro de Boiva, who had such a good race in P3. And well, again, just what a race it has been for the AM guys as well. Jeremy de Boiva will come home P1. El Haddad will be there in 2nd place as well. And again, what a race for the number 14, the 2nd reverse grid race win in a row for the Belgian, and he'll be joined by his son on the podium as well after a fantastic battle between them and Kamano a little bit earlier on in this race. But again, just dominant affairs really. Of course, while they were a little bit under pressure, were our 2 race winners, you have to say they were the favourites from start to finish.
100% so, and they proved why. You can't say they lucked into anything. They made their opportunities and they made them count, and fair play to Jeremy de Boiva now coming over the line to take the AM win. And again, you can't say he lucked into that. That was he did exactly what he needed to do. may not necessarily been the quickest car in the class, but he was certainly the most consistent. He was pretty damn quick, in fairness. And yeah, so Ashraf El Haddad chases him home in second place. Navarro's already finished. The only car still circulating, I believe, is Liam Ahern. But wow, what a race.
Indeed. And race 1 set the bar high. Race 2 just delivered it on all fronts. You have to say it just had everything. We're going to take a look at the full results here for the GT3 Pros. Alex Sharenga, yet another victory. He'll be joined for yet another 1-2 for RSR butt kicker. It'll be Sean Campbell, the number 26, who will have Alvin Kjellberg full company on the podium in P3. Then comes Thomas Cope P4 with Stuart Reynolds rounding off the top 5. Thomas Reiter, Chris Dadderton 6 and 7, with Harry Wills making a pit going on to the last lap. We'll only finish in P8. Ethan Bass, after going off the road in the last couple of laps, still comes home P9 with Michael Patterman rounding off the top 10. Liam Ahern, Christian Furs, Felix Payal, Thomas Dandridge and Jonas Streyer from 11th to 15th. I'm not entirely sure we have anyone past that. So we'll scroll down to our GT3 AMs, and whoa, what a show they put on for us today. We're not going to look from 5th down, we're going to take a look from 1st. And I can tell you for free it was Jeremy De Boiver who took the victory ahead of Ashraf El Haddad in P2. His son Navarro De Boiver will join on that podium in P3. Dean Timms P4, Matthew Green rounding off the top 5. Stefan Schuster P6 with Kurt Hau Jensen P7. Werner S P8 with Dirk Bowles and David Kamano rounding off the top 10. Jasper Yarks in P11 with Adebe Helebe in P12. Victor Chamorro P13. Jarmo Sastamoyen P14. Timo McEwen P15. George Ferreira in P16. Timothy van der Broek, our race 1 victor, down in P17. Simon Dodd, again, the person we interviewed just before the race. Hopefully we didn't tarnish his efforts in any way, shape or form with our chat. He only comes home in P18. Dominic Goodsell P19. James Slayers P20. Gus Franken in P21. And our ex-championship leader, Ivo van der Linden, didn't even get to the checkered flag. P22 and 9 laps off the race lead. And, well, that's a big statement in the championship.
Very much so, but what an amazing night we have had. And we get to do it all over again next week. Another pair of races await us for round number 5.
They do indeed. And well, for myself, Zach Sweeney and Chris Buxton alongside me, we have had David Christie producing, pushing the buttons behind the scenes, giving you the fantastic production feed that you've been watching. But it has been yet another fantastic evening of racing. Of course, don't forget to tune into the US series in a few hours time. If you are anywhere in the UK or in Europe, try and stay awake. It's worth it. You might have something better to do, I don't know. But again, if you can tune in, certainly do so. And if you are from the States, do tune in to that one as well, because, well, if you think the EU is good, well, the US is equally. For myself and Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll hopefully see you in a week's time for round number 5. Until then, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.